Welcome at the Masters of the Code channel. In today's video, I want to show you my new device for monitoring photovoltaic installations. And I think it's the feature of such monitoring. It has plenty of features which other vendors' solutions lack. I, of course, will show you that in the moment in details. So, what is the goal here? The device should be suitable for end user, ordinary customer. So it should be easy enough. It should have a simple interface to interact with device. And that is why maybe you've also seen my previous video about photovoltaic installation monitoring, but I've used Grafana and InfluxDB there. But it's not meant for ordinary customer, because ordinary customer won't configure those stuff for his own, and ordinary customer wants the end product. How I achieved those goals? I've written plugins for Cockpit. Maybe you are familiar with Cockpit, so it's a really stable solution. And also I've used Nginx reverse proxy to cut some unwanted features and options from Grafana panels. So it's really simplified. And also that device doesn't need cloud at all. So other vendors for its solutions needs some cloud services. I know it's cheaper, but the way that device works, it's more reliable because you don't even need internet connection in place where you have your photovoltaic installation, and you can use it. And for that, I've also needed to add the RTC clock module to the Raspberry Pi, because Raspberry Pi 4 lacks that module by default. I will also show you that in a moment. And the third thing is I still want to write some cloud platform. That is, of course, the future. So I want to write some cloud platform because I know that some people has 10 or more photovoltaic installations, and those installations can be done using different inverters, different vendors, different hardware, and that solution would allow to standardize that monitoring and to tap to each of those devices from one portal. Of course, for installations that are connected to the internet. But for those that are not, those customers can still use that device locally. I moved to my garage because I have the part of the installation here we want to integrate with from our monitoring device. And let's start from the inverter. So you can also see my previous movie to get the greater picture about my photovoltaic installation and about technologies I've used to monitor that installation. But now let's see at our inverter, and every modern inverter advanced enough should have the serial port connection. So here it is for that one, and that serial port allows us to connect to the RS485 port with Modbus protocol standard. And here I have two cables, because first is used by the smart meter. It's the vendor solution to monitor the power, the voltages in my household. So on one end it's tapped before the main fuses, but on the other end it's connected using that RS485 port to the inverter. But that inverter also has two more pins, or I should say 4 more pins, because you can also connect the so-called smart logger. It's the Huawei solution to monitor and gather data, but it's the standard. So we can connect any device which is capable to use that Modbus protocol. So I've used the only 2 pins to connect the additional cable. And on the other hand, we have 2 choices. So the first choice is to use the cable connection. So you can see that adapter which converts the RS485 protocol to the USB. And for example, under Linux, you can see that device at dev/tty USB 0, for example, or for example 1, 2, etc. when you have more devices like that. And on the second end, it has A plus, B minus, so you need to connect it to that RS cable. So it's the first choice, most stable. But as the other possibility, other choice, we can also use that second device, which is adapter that converts RS485 to Wi-Fi. So it encapsulates that RS Modbus protocol using TCP/IP protocol, and also it acts as an access point, and it can connect to other devices. And it, as you can see, it has a pretty big antenna. So the connectivity is really great. I have my monitoring device at my first floor, and I'm in the garage in the basement, so it works really well. And it works the same like this Wi-Fi card inside that Huawei inverter, which I use to connect my other equipment to collect data to my NAS. I could say it's my production installation. And that second one is for testing the new device. But that Huawei built-in card has some limitations. I've already told you about it a little in my previous video. It allows us to connect only one device to that Wi-Fi simultaneously. So when you have that device connected, you can't connect, for example, phone at the same time to, for example, reconfigure the whole inverter. That second device is better because it doesn't stand in the way to configure the inverter in the same time. And also you can't change the antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi card in the inverter. So what is also interesting, we can use a built-in power meter here, so built-in solution from Huawei, but we are also able to connect some other power meter for that, and we can connect it in parallel on the same cable, because Modbus protocol, for Modbus protocol, every device has its own unit ID. So by default, the inverter has unit ID 1, but we can of course reconfigure it. But other devices can have other unit IDs. So that way we are able to designate those devices as the monitoring device. So under Linux, using Python, we are able to tap to each device separately, of course. Okay, and right now I need to move here and I will put the phone on my tripod because I need to get the second phone, because I want to show you how that Wi-Fi adapter works, how we can configure it, how we can tap to that device. So let's see it on the other phone. I've configured the Solar Fusion Modbus 1 Wi-Fi network. So I can tap to that network. Let's put password. It's of course test password. Okay, and we'll probably get the message. Yeah, I want to keep Wi-Fi connection because we don't have internet connectivity, of course, when we are tapped to that device. And right now, I can tap Manage Router option to get to the browser, and I will use the admin user here. Also, test password. And as you can see, we have some nice web browser interface, really simple one, but it's enough to configure that device. And on the status tab, for example, we have some product information, some network information about IP addresses, about remaining RAM, and also we have some informations about received bytes and sent bytes also, which is really nice. And on the other tabs, for example, system settings, you can configure username, password, but also we can configure that network name, and also we can use that most useful mode, which is AP plus STA. So device acts as access point and is also simultaneously connected as client to the other device. And that other device used for monitoring, it also has the Wi-Fi card built in, which acts as access point. So we can easily configure it to tap to that device. And here we have that second network, which is Solar Fusion Tech. I will tap to that network later. And we can put passwords so we are able to connect that device to the other one. As you can see, you can also configure it using Telnet here. And on the other tabs, you have serial port settings, for example. So you can configure the standard serial port parameters. And of course, you have communication settings. And that one is important because you can configure here the TCP server. So it's the server which serves, which encapsulates our RS485 protocol. So on the monitoring device, I use it to connect to that 8899 port, and we have, and then we can tap to our data. I will also show you that later. So there is one more thing I want to add about that Wi-Fi adapter. It's the powering options. So I've used for the test purpose just ordinary phone charger, which delivers here the 5 volts. But that device has pretty wide range of voltages you can put on the input. So you can put 5 to 36 volts for it. And for that, you can, for example, use your inverter, because some inverters can deliver such voltage as an option. So in that case, you don't need that additional power supply. So now let's take a closer look at our device. So we have the power supply here, two additional HDMI ports, so you can even connect easily external TV set to watch grabs on the bigger screen. Also you have that additional Wi-Fi dongle for LAN connectivity or internet connectivity. And I also want to show you that we can remove the back cover here, and you can see that case has also nice two holes for mounting it on the wall. And besides that, you can see also here, of course it's a little hidden under the main board, RTC module for installations without internet connection. And also you can see that additional reset button here. And now I will leave it because I'm going to connect with my second phone to the configuration panel, because I want to show you what options are there and how we can configure it. So let's find the Solar Fusion Tech, and we will connect to that network. Of course it's network without internet access, so we can get that message after connecting. Yeah, so keep Wi-Fi connection, of course. And then from the browser we can navigate to the HTTP. Okay, so it's that one, Solar Fusion and port 9090. And here we can log in with our installer user and the same password. It's of course the initial password for that user. So we are logged in, and we can see also, tapping on the host, the all tabs we have here. So the first one and default is the Wi-Fi setup. So we can scan available Wi-Fi networks here. We can tap on some network, for example. So we have it copied to the SSID field. Of course, that field is useful because we can also have hidden network. So we can type the name here, and then of course the password, and hit the connect button. And under that we have also informations about the current connections. As you can see, there is also information about that hotspot network. So this is the main connection for connecting and configuring from the phone. We can see the current IP address in the LAN network for the whole device also, and some routing informations below for the debug purpose. On the next tab we have energy cost. So it's prepared here for Poland energy suppliers, but we can also add some other rules easily. So here we have the cost for the 1 kilowatt hour of energy, and the import coefficient. So it depends. If you have installation below 10 kilowatts, it's 0.8, and if you have installation above that value, you can put that 0.7, but of course it can change in time. So for that there is also a possibility to change it. And of course, I will show you that also later. It depends on the graphs configuration, so it's not always needed, especially that first option. At the Accounts tab, you can change passwords. Of course, you have also two additional accounts, master and root, for administration and debug purpose, and for customers you have all only two accounts. So it's the installer rule to configure the whole device, and config is the role for end user. So it has minimal options also. So installer can set his own password and nothing more. And of course, config user can only change his password. Next, we have the not that one, the language for the Grafana interface. And Grafana is built like that. It doesn't allow yet to easily choose or implement other languages. So I've implemented some additional, you could say, workarounds, but it's additional Python script. So when you choose a different language, it will just translate on device files which contains some messages, etc. So it is translated. So that is also why when you use that configuration interface, which is based on stable cockpit project, you have language chosen automatically. So it's based on the browser language, and it's not the case for the Grafana, as you can see. On the next tab, you have the password for the Grafana. So it's the password you should type to access the graphs and boards from the local network. Next, we have time settings. Those time settings are especially important, of course, when you don't have internet connection. So then you can just remove that check on the NTP auto time set, and then just set a time manually. And also you can change the time zone here. On the next tab, we have the whole equipment configuration. So you can choose different inverters. For now, I only have a Huawei inverter here, but I plan to add other inverters also. And also you can see that use separate meter check box. So if it's checked, the device doesn't collect those additional informations about energy exported and imported by the installation from the inverter, but from the separate power meter. And of course, you have two connectivity options, so USB and Wi-Fi. So we will leave Wi-Fi here for now. Next, we have AP, so access point settings. So you can change the network name, but of course, after changing that, you will also have to match that name on that Wi-Fi dongle if you use the Wi-Fi dongle. And also that applies to the channel, which can be set to auto or some specific channel, and the password. Next, we have the Grafana playlists. So I've put that setting here because you can also configure it if you have the Grafana administrator on the Grafana panel, but I think it's too complex for ordinary user. So it's put here, and you can change the order of the dashboards and even remove some dashboards, some graphs. So it's the nice feature. You have two sets, two playlists, so basic with some basic informations like energy production, etc., and technical one with informations like voltages or inverter temperature. So I will get back to it later also, to that one. And let's check also the weather widget option. And here you can type city and the language, and it applies to the weather which is presented on the specific dashboard. And it's Google weather. I've chose to use the Google weather because it's stable. It will it will probably work for long period of time without any changes. And I'm not so sure for other weather widgets from other vendors. And the last option here is the reset data option, and that option is meant to reset just data. So it stores data in the influx database, so data responsible for keeping the inverter parameters over time, so production, export, import, that kind of data. And those data are not deleted after using that reset button on the device, because if you use that reset button on the device during boot, so you should push it for a long enough period, then you can reset settings like passwords, so you can restore access. If you, for example, lost your password, you can restore access to that panel and password to the Wi-Fi network. But those data should stay intact. So that's the separate option. Okay, so we don't have any more options here. So right now, let's get back to our device. So I can show you the boards, the grabs. So at the main screen, you have that you could say the screen saver. It acts like one because it displays flow of your installation, so you can see the current energy production and also the output of energy from the inverter, the amount of energy needed by your whole installation at your home, and also export or import when you doesn't have enough energy produced by the panels. So in that case, the arrows would go the opposite way. Also, you have the information about inverter start for the current day, inverter shutdown for the previous day, and also voltage and current on strings. And if you tap on that one, you can get more detailed informations. And for now, it's set to 30 seconds. If you want to charge the screen for 30 seconds, it will get back to that screen saver. And here you have the same flow, but additionally the informations about, as you can see, daily consumption, self-consumption, daily energy and lifetime energy. And you can also choose that basic playlist, start playlist, and the tech playlist. And also you can switch the dashboards, the grabs. So the first one here, more detailed, is the grab presenting production and other parameters for the current day. And by current day, I mean from the midnight to the current time. So you have all those informations, and you can also tap on any period, any minute or hour here, and get detailed informations about that data point. And also I've added some additional time picker, which is not provided by by Grafana, which allows you to easily navigate through next day, previous day, and actually any date. And you can still have a 1 day period, because it's not so easy using the standard Grafana time picker localized here, as you can see. So let's check, for example, other day. and you can see informations for that other day also. So let's get back to that playlist again, and let's switch to the aggregated graph. As you can see here, you have some aggregated graph, and here you can also check some parameters, but for the whole day. You can also check for annual period, but I don't have enough data yet to show you it, so I can only show you it for the monthly period of time. But you can see it works very well, and also you can tap for just the one category like production, consumption and other to see only that data. Then we have the dashboard. Once again. Okay. Then we have that dashboard which presents the statistics. So daily statistics on the left and statistics for chosen period of time on the right. Next we have also some statistics in cache here, but for one day. You can also switch to the other period here if you like. And then we have the start up shutdown times for the inverter, and you can see here that those times will be you will have earlier startup times and later shutdown times if you move on to spring or summer, and of course the opposite you will see the opposite if you will move toward winter, for example. On the last graph we have it's the screensaver. So once again on the last graph you can see that Google weather here. So you can also tap to each day or different hours, or you can check wind and other parameters, as you can see. And also let's quickly check that technical playlist. So as you can see, you can check grid voltages. Also, of course, for three-phase installation you will have three voltages, and for the one phase installation only one. And then you can also check the inverter states, as you can see here in details, and also internal temperature of the inverter, voltage on each string, and current on each string. Okay, so now let's put it aside and let's get back once again to that configuration panel. And I will show you some other cool stuff. Of course, I need to reconnect. But of course, it's more secure that way. So we have to reconnect after some idle time. And let's get back to that Grafana playlists. And here you can see that, for example, somebody could want some other graphs, other dashboards. So let's see how it works. For example, we can remove weather, and we can remove the last statistics and also energy balance here. But we can also add the energy balance in kilowatt hours, and we can also add those basic statistics in kilowatt hours. So let's try to find those, yeah, that one, and we can rearrange that. So those last statistics before the inverter startup, and those daily statistics even before those last stats, and then we can update. Okay, and now we can get back to our device, and we can check the effect here. So let's check it. Okay, so as you can see, after aggregated graph about the production consumption, then we have that energy balance but in kilowatt hours, and then we have that stats aggregated but without cash, just the energy balance in kilowatt hours also. So I think I've shown you the most basic options. So I need to also do some basic tests. So I need to test what will happen if I, for example, disconnect the access point or the router for the LAN network or the inverter, etc. So I need to be sure that that device is really stable. And the other thing I have in mind, I need to develop the whole cloud solution yet. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching. Bye.